Senior Judicial Analyst, Judge Andrew Napolitano. Great to see you
good morning,
on
Charlotte.
this Friday. So lots to discuss. Where do you think this will go? And can you explain to me what's really happening here?
Yes. So 5 years ago, when the world was very different, the Texas legislature enacted legislation reaffirming the values of the First Amendment, which is that you can say almost anything you want. Political speech, you can say what you want. Hate speech is protected. Even certain forms of obscenity are protected. This legislation would not only dial back those protections, it would purport, it's not going to succeed, a federal judge will enjoin it like that, and I'll tell you why in a minute. It would purport to evaluate the content of speech. For example, it limits when and where you can wear a MAGA hat.
Really?
You should be able to wear a MAGA hat wherever you want. It prohibits the carrying or flying of a Mexican flag. You should be able to carry and fly a Mexican flag whenever you want, for whatever reason you want. So because this consists of the government, because these schools are owned by the state of Texas, evaluating the content of speech. What does the hat say? What does the flag mean? It violates the First Amendment. It not only violates the Texas Constitution, it violates the federal Constitution, which is why I said I think a federal judge will enjoin the enforcement of this if it's signed into law. And I would encourage Governor Abbott, who believes in free speech, to veto the legislation, but the minute he signs it, a federal judge will enjoin its enforcement.
Can you imagine what that would do if all of a sudden a student on campus, because it's 10 p.m. and that's outside of the window, they have to take off their MAGA hat, they can't wear that anymore? That seems ridiculous that this would even be thought of.
It's also unenforceable. Who's going to monitor something like this and telling people they can't fly certain flags? I mean, the Supreme Court has said you can burn the flag. You can certainly fly any flag you want, and you can do that protected by the First Amendment.
So I want to ask you about the other big news that happened late yesterday regarding Donald Trump and California and deploying those National Guard troops. So an appeals court has said that, yes, he can do that. He is allowed to send the National Guardsmen to L.A., of course, in response to those riots that happened last week. A big win for the Trump administration, essentially, against Gavin Newsom. What do you make of this? What does this mean moving forward?
All right. So we all know what the president did, and we all know why he did it. And just to refresh everybody's memory, a trial judge 2 weeks ago enjoined the president from doing it and transferred control of the National Guard back to the governor. The appellate division invalidated what the trial judge did. It's not a 100% win for the president if you read between the lines. The Justice Department argued that when the president acts as commander-in-chief, he cannot be second-guessed or even reviewed by federal courts. The court rejected that. The Justice Department also argued that these troops can do anything they want on the ground, meaning they can engage in ordinary law enforcement. The court rejected that. So even though the troops stay under the command of Donald Trump, not under the command of Governor Newsom, they are only there to protect federal assets, which means the ICE agents and federal property.
That makes sense.
I don't know if the governor's going to bother taking this to the Supreme Court or not. He probably will do so for political reasons, but I don't expect that he will have success there.
So right now, the governor has no say. He has no control. He has to just let these National Guardsmen stay there and do their thing.
Correct. I don't know what's going on the ground. We haven't been covering it day by day. I think the rioting and the dangerous part of this is over.
Yeah, I think so.
And because this is very expensive and the feds are paying the bill, you know the way the president is with spending money, he may send them back to Sacramento, the state capital, any day now. But right now, they're still there.
But we know that, as you said, they are there to protect federal people, and that includes ICE agents. And that's where there's been some issues, because we know that there's been a lot of threats and danger issued towards ICE agents. They're just there trying to do their job. So maybe these guys are there to help them implement, their jobs.
Can they direct traffic? No. Can they pick up drunk drivers? No. Can they arrest people? No. Can they push you away if you're interfering with ICE? Yes.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.